and I love that so much that you say that to change the world, we have to change ourselves because that's all we control. All we control is ourselves. And
Yeah,
we cannot control anyone else. We can have all these ideological beliefs, these philosophies, these political beliefs, but like nothing, we're not going to change people's mind necessarily, but we can change ourselves. And if we change ourselves and we do all this stuff, suddenly we're changing the world, you know.
yeah,
Like there's this admiral in the US. He's retired now. His name is Admiral McRaven, and he was a special forces commander. He was commander of SOCOM, and he ended up being president of University of Texas. And there's a famous speech he gives. It's
yeah.
on YouTube where he says, if you want to change the world, get up in the morning to make your bed. And it's a commencement speech for the University of Texas graduates, and it's beautiful. And he keeps going. And this is a Navy SEAL. This is an admiral, and he's talking about if you want to change the world, make your bed.
My following conversation is with John Lawyer, aka Keisha Spiritual. So he is the founder from Keisha Spiritual. Peace on your journey, and he can tell us now himself who he is. So in probably in a spiritual sense, because he is also really deep into spirituality. And I started now also talking with him about the topic that is for me personally really important. And I want to just start short with that, just going with the flow, because it was a bit stressful right now. As you see, I have another background and I have to set up everything. And then I was a bit stressed and so, and I realized and also I just have that urge to make everything, to make everything so perfect, and this have to be perfect and this have to be perfect. And no, but it's not like that. And yesterday in the evening, I wrote also in my journal because I had a day with really much, up and downs. I was so deep in a deep dark hole and so, and I had to push myself up. And yeah, then I just was coming into acceptance. And I mean, that's one of the keys, right? So, and yeah, the best is to just go with the flow, like with your intention, just have a nice conversation, right? So, but yeah, you can start, John, with this question, who are you? And maybe you want also say something to that now, what I said right now. Maybe you
Yeah,
know
well,
that.
no, I definitely appreciate the ups and downs, the swings of life, those highs and lows. And I think I love that you talked about acceptance, right? Because sometimes we just have to kind of like let it flow through us, right? Because
Yeah.
life can be a bit chaotic at times, and I think that's okay. Saying life's chaos every now and then. We have those highs and lows. So I definitely appreciate that, and thank you for having me on your show. Um,
I
who am I,
appreciate
right?
that
That's
you
a
are on my show.
Yeah, absolutely. And who am I, right? That's a deep question.
Yeah, that's a deep
Um,
question, exactly. Yeah. I love the
uh,
question.
yeah, but I I'm on a spiritual path. I've been on a spiritual path. Well, really, probably my whole life, but I didn't know it. But at least consciously, I've been on a spiritual path for the last 2+ years or so. Before that, I spent most of my adult life as a soldier and civilian in combat zones, working in the Middle East and South Asia, Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan. So I spent most of my adult life at war and just doing stuff as a soldier and civilian as part of the military industrial complex. My
Okay.
job was counterintelligence, and it was a lot came with that. A lot of stuff that I had to heal from afterwards. A lot of trauma, depression, anxiety. Um, that just complex PTSD, all that kind of stuff. And I was over there overseas probably 12 years out of my first 15 years of my adult life. So it's kind of all I knew. So when I kind of came home from that, I was kind of lost, didn't really know who I was, didn't have an identity. And I kind of went through that process for like maybe 7 years after getting home. I was really, really lost
Yeah.
until I kind of finally, found myself. And then with my wife, who was also with me during a lot of this, she had been a soldier as well, doing a lot of this with me. And so we were together almost that whole
Mm-hmm.
time. And so
Yeah.
uh, once I kind of had the spiritual awakening, her and I and another friend of ours that we had known from our time in Afghanistan, who lives in the Balkans, we put together an online spiritual community because we wanted to do something uh, for ourselves. We also wanted to give back to the world, and
Yeah.
that's kind of my journey in a couple minutes.
Yeah, in the governments. Yeah, it's always uh it's always interesting to find out who you are, right? Because I personally think it's a deeper question, and this is an ongoing process, right? You find always more out from you who you really are,
Yeah,
not only just this. All right, I'm Felix. I'm 28 years old. I just live in Germany, Schwarzwald, right now, and I make that and that. So, and that's it. But it's not that simple, right? So
yeah.
when we go deeper in
What?
us, and you speak also on your YouTube channel about that, uh, about the spirit, about our soul, and there's so much more to experience.
Yeah,
So.
I think I love that's kind of how we started here today because I mean one of my favorite books is Spiritual Teachings of Ramana Maharishi, and
Mhm.
uh the whole concept of the book is asking that question, who am I? And you keep asking yourself, and then you realize I'm not my name, I'm not my job, I'm not my friends, I'm not my family, I'm something uh really, really base and really peaceful deep down, um,
Mm.
which I tend to believe is kind of like the universal oneness or consciousness of everything is kind of how I see it. But everybody experiences it differently.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. But I see also some people, or most of the people in the world don't think so much about that because they are so much in their daily lives, and just go to a job, make that job, go at home, make the household, and just chill on the couch looking Netflix, or I don't know, just making, something. But probably they know there's much more in life, but I'm not sure. When I say that what I want to say now, then I have to be always really careful. So, but it is fact that this system in what we are grow up, it's a bit complex, and it just makes us to don't questioning. And I think it's really important that we question everything, everything in our life, who we are, what we are here for example, what is our purpose here on this in this world. And is there much more as a just a 9 to 5 job where I go, and but I know deep in me I don't want to make it, but I anyway go, and I don't have hope for something else or something like that, you know what I mean.
I totally do, and I think that you bring up one of the most important things in our society and culture in our lives is that we're told this is how you should act and this is what you should do with your life and this is what you shouldn't do, and so do this, don't do that, sign here. We're told all this stuff, and we're very rarely taught to ask ourselves, well, what are my beliefs, what are my values based on me, based
Mm,
on what the truths that I know, and to
mm,
see those truths. And so yeah, I think there's that pull of society to just do the status quo and conform and have this conformity to just keep moving down, kind of sleepwalking through life.
mm.
And I call it, I have a name for it, I call it the stream of unconsciousness is what I call it, that we get pulled by it. you know.
Interesting. Yeah. We come. I think we come back later to that with this unconscious, but what I'm also really interested in it now, because I think it's incredible to hear a story like that. You know, when you are in a war, or you was in a war, right?
Yeah, I joined the army straight out of high school in the year 2000.
Ooh.
And that was I joined about a year before 9/11, and then I went through
Yeah.
training and I got to my first permanent station for my military job. I got there about 6 months before 9/11 happened. So
Okay. Crazy. Yeah. So, but do you think this was a conscious decision from you to join the army, or do you had to, or it, you know?
yeah, in the US it's an all volunteer force. And so I volunteered. I I was kind of idealistic, and I kind of wanted to do my part to help the world, and I was interested in counterterrorism and trying to help that process. I didn't really understand it completely because I was young, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to do counterterrorism. I had watched Lawrence of Arabia when I was a kid, and always kind of wanted to do that. It kind of fascinated me.
Yeah.
Um, and go to the desert and do all that even before 9/11. So the culture interested me, the and obviously one of those situations where be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you get it, and then there you are, so yeah, but yeah, it was voluntary.
Okay. Yeah, and then you was there how much years long?
I spent 5 years in the military, enlisted, and that was 2.5 years of that was in Kuwait. And then
Yeah.
I got out. That was the end of my time being a soldier, and I became a civilian contractor for the Department of Defense. And
Mm.
I spent 18 months in Baghdad, and then I went later and spent about 6.5 years consecutively in southern Afghanistan and Kandahar.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Baghdad and Kandahar both.
Okay. Yeah, and after, also you said 2000 you joined, and then when do you was coming back
That would have been
at home?
I came home like Christmas. I think I hit the ground Christmas Day of 2014. So right there at the start of
Ah,
2015.
okay. Yeah, and then you decided you stay now at home and just go on a spiritual journey, you know. We I think we don't just say that just like that. Okay, now I go on a spiritual journey. I want to
Yeah.
have a spiritual awakening, or you know, it's I
Yeah.
think it's a process. Yeah,
No, I took seven. I
how
mean, I wasn't when I first got home, I wasn't really on a spiritual journey. I was just glad to be done with war. And like I said, it took me 7 years to I was just kind of like I was just kind of stuck for 7 years. Like, well, I tried to um, heal from everything
yeah.
uh, and all of that. Yeah, and time helped. I mean, time helps, right? So, yeah, it took me a long time before I was even in a place, I think, where I finally was like, oh, okay, life makes sense now. The universe makes sense.
Yeah. Do you mind when we go a bit deeper into that military stuff? So because
Yeah,
probably
sure,
it's
for sure.
sometimes, you know, I can imagine I wasn't in the military here in Germany when I was grew up. Uh we don't had that law anymore, you know,
Right.
that we have to join the military or make a volunteer in the civil service, you know. So but I anyway made 1 year in a kindergarten with handicap childs, and so but I don't had that experience, you know, with the war and everything, and I imagine it's horrible, and to also just see so much
Yeah.
F's and everything, and just when you also just kill someone else, you know, you don't know, you know, for other country like right now the Ukraine and Russia thing. It's all in the mainstream medias. So that's the other topic with the mainstream medias. So as you listener, don't consume the mainstream medias. It's not good for you. But but it's fact. But it's really it's so sad to see what's going on in the world and how dark the world can be. But we can be the light. There comes then the spiritual journey. But you know, I think it's so sad to see that it's just my opinion. You can say the news, but I think it's really really sad, and it makes me also a bit angry, or yeah, I'm not sure if is angry the right word, so because it's low frequency, and but yeah,
Yeah.
you know that gets people pushed to just go now on the war, for example in Ukraine right now, so they have to go there to just kill other people they don't know, you know, like we now right now, you know, I don't I met you before, so, and we had a nice call and so, and it's just principally the same, like when the country where I live now sends me in a war to just, you know, that we
Sure.
just have to kill us, you know, we you
No,
know, but we are all the same, we are all humans, and we need to create more peace in this world, right? And I think then in my eyes, and some people maybe see this different, but in my eyes is the military unnecessary, because what we make when we don't have the military, also who we should fight, you know, you know what I want to say with that.
no, I agree with much of what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from 100%. I think that yes, I first of all, I will start by saying that the the longer I served in this thing, the more I saw the human toll. I saw the human toll from the quote unquote other side or the enemy, which I don't see it that way, the enemy as enemy anymore. But I started to see that we were all humans, we were all just living our lives, and it
Yeah.
takes a human toll on them. I saw it take a human toll on myself. I saw it take a human toll on my friends and my brothers and sisters in arms. And
What
I
what do you mean exactly with human toll? Sorry that I interrupt, but
like this machine, it damages you.
yeah,
It damages you physically, it damages you mentally, spiritually, emotionally,
yeah,
and we're doing damage to ourselves, the ones that are doing it. We're doing damage to the enemy.
yeah,
We're doing damage to civilians that are just innocent,
yeah.
third parties. And I think that the Western military industrial complex, it, it it does some good. I will acknowledge that, but there's this very dark part of it that it does a lot of darkness. And I think that war. I'm not political anymore. I
Yeah,
don't really talk about politics much, but I can say from a
yeah,
philosophical standpoint,
yeah,
war is a political exercise. It doesn't matter why you go to war or what the justification was.
yeah,
Once you're at war, it's this political exercise. It's this geopolitical thing. It's driven by policy. But the reason we're actually there is very rarely the reason that we're told that we're there. And in the case of Iraq and Afghanistan especially,
mm,
uh, we lost our way of why we were there very early on, and then we were
yeah,
just kind of wandering around for 20 years, uh, killing people, trying not to die,
yeah,
ourselves getting people, our own side getting, it was just it's such a waste. And I think that I appreciate what you're saying, that there's so much that we could accomplish if we sought peace, if we all pared down our militaries. And I think that these big tribe things, like we're tribal species, we're tribal creatures.
yeah,
But if we can be aware of that, we can say, well, we can choose the tribe of community, we can choose the tribe of peace, and we can
Mhm.
break down those nationalistic boundaries of this is my country or this is my whatever. I think that
Yeah.
when you talk about we could do so much more if we weren't at war. And I've had to I mean, I was taught for years to think about national boundaries
Hmm.
as my job. I was in counterintelligence, and um, I had to understand geopolitics to do some of the stuff that I did.
Yeah.
And I've had to really condition my own self, even after my spiritual awakening, my spiritual understanding, to say, hey, John, stop thinking about things in terms of national boundaries. Like, just
Mhm.
think of everyone as human, like you were talking about, and suddenly,
Yeah.
we can love our neighbor and have a better conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a important point. And uh, I think also, or I'm sure everything is connected. And I speak also on my channel and what I teach about self-love and holistic health and so. And I think this have also a bit to do with society, because when we are healthy and when we are healing, we can create a healthier society, right?
That's right.
So everything starts with ourselves. Everything
Yes.
doesn't matter what it
Yes.
is, doesn't matter what it is. And sometimes also when I speak with some other humans that has a, now I have to look that I don't say this, like just value others, but Einstein said once something. The humans just make decisions based on their consciousness, and when you have a lower consciousness, you say, oh yes, no, that's not true. What I should make doesn't matter. What I eat doesn't matter. How I'm with others, doesn't matter what I make. It's anyway, it anyway don't change something. It's just me. Yeah, but where we come when this everyone says, and when everyone says, the politicians, they have to make something. But anyway, over the politicians stands also some other people, some other institutions. That's a fact. That's just, but you know, anyway, also for the people out there. So you can make a change, we can make a change in
Yeah.
changing
And
ourselves.
man, I love that so much that you say that
Yeah.
to change the world, we have to change ourselves because that's all we control. All we control is ourselves. And
Yeah.
we cannot control anyone else. We can have all these ideological beliefs, these philosophies, these political beliefs, but like nothing, we're not going to change people's mind necessarily, but we can change ourselves. And if we change ourselves and we do all this stuff, suddenly we're changing the world, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's this admiral in the US. He's retired now. His name is Admiral McRaven, and he was a special forces commander. He was commander of SOCOM, and he ended up being president of University of Texas. And there's a famous speech he gives. It's
Yeah.
on YouTube where he says, if you want to change the world, get up in the morning to make your bed. And it's a commencement speech for the University of Texas graduates, and it's beautiful. And he keeps going. And this is a Navy SEAL. This is an admiral, and he's talking about if you want to change the world, make your bed. You know,
Make your bed. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and I think it's that beautiful thing that there's all this stuff that we can do for ourselves that changes ourselves in such this beautiful way, and then suddenly we're putting loving kindness out into the world because we love ourselves, and
Mhm.
and we're raising up the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such an important point what you're saying with the morning routine, for example. Some people have a strict morning routine, some other people are not so strict. I think personally you have to listen on your inner self also a bit, but have the balance between so really strict and just going with the flow.
Yeah.
But But anyway, that's a good point. Just make your bed in the morning. It's it's a so good point. And what I wanted to say now. Sometimes it just flies away and so
I get that. I get that.
you know, it's just so deep into the conversation and you have so much in your head going on what you think. Oh yeah, this is important to say now, but then you just forget it. Yeah, but it was with the self-love. I think it was, yeah, you know, because I also just try always that I stay a bit also when I make these interviews in my in quotes niche, self-love and holistic health and so in this direction. So and I think you said there also something really important with the self-love and um for me personally, I had in the past also to struggle a lot with this, and because of that I was going also now in that direction to teach people this because I gained a lot, or I changed myself also a lot um personally. And then there is also this, I'm not sure if you have this also sometimes, but especially when you want to build your own business, I think, or also doesn't matter if it's that also just in your daily life, when you want to get something done, right? You just make a plan and then you just don't get it done, and you just feel this self-hate, or hate is a really really powerful word. This is a really really low frequency. So um but you know what I mean. So it's just, or when you have a disability, and you just say, I hate my life, or you just done something you really regret, you deeply regret, like you, for example. Also, I can imagine that maybe it was not like that. I'm not sure. But when you served in the army, so then you had to probably also deal, I can imagine, with a lot of emotions, and you had to learn also to love yourself much more, right?
Yeah, I
You get
think
it? What
that
I say?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get frustrated with yourself when you don't do these things. And
yeah,
I think in the military, when I was overseas,
mm,
um, for me it was kind of, I was doing all this stuff that was sometimes, yeah, I think you just kind of bottle it up and like shove it aside, right? Which is not healthy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think that I forgot to love myself. I don't think that I think during those years, I was so like enmeshed in my mission and getting
yeah,
my job accomplished that, yeah, I didn't remember, I took life too seriously. I didn't remember to love myself. Uh, and I think that the one thing that saved me probably is I'm a pretty positive person.
yeah,
And I think that helped me a lot. And I'm
mm,
kind person. I mean, I could be a
yeah.
jerk sometimes, but I'm mostly a kind person.
We can be all
And
jerks sometimes.
yeah, yes. So I think my positivity and kindness really helped me not get so low that I completely lost myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. But probably you also, I'm just curious and interesting to learn from other people, and probably listeners also. So, and I can just imagine what is going on in people that was in the war, and has all that emotions, maybe also sometimes later when they don't serve again, that they have to deal with these emotions, with
I I think that I think that when people one of the things that happens when people go to war is it, when young men and women go to war, especially where they haven't been to war yet, it's the first time they've gone. Like they're so idealistic and driven, and like they believe in like the idea of it. They believe in the worthiness of it, right? Before they've been in it. And
Yeah.
then so they're excited. They're excited. They
Yeah.
want to succeed. They want to succeed. They want to go win the day or whatever it is, right? They
Yeah.
they they have all this stuff they want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that then they get beat down by the system, by the horror of it, by
Mhm.
everything around it, right? So they change.
Yeah.
Uh Even if they don't realize it exactly. So I think that uh and I think wars is a really confusing thing
Yeah.
because when we go, even if you're doing a big job or a big mission, you're still a small part of the machine, the overall machine.
Yeah.
And I think that the more people are at war, the more they realize the futility of it. Um, like, what's the point? Like, why am I here? I'm dying. You start to think I'm prepared to die for this, and you
Yeah.
think that doesn't make any sense. Um, and I think people don't like to say that out loud,
Yeah.
because then it cheapens their whole reason for being. Oh, I volunteered, I got sent around the world.
Yeah.
My health has been compromised, my mental health has been compromised, I'm damaged. And so
Yeah.
what was it all for? So a lot of people can't even admit that, but some do. Many do admit that oh, what the hell am I doing here? What's the purpose of this? What's
Yeah.
the reason for this and the futility of it? So some people see it, and I think a lot of the other people, they may see it subconsciously, but they never admit it to themselves because they don't want to think that they did this for no reason.
Yeah. 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 Uh, I I have a question now about your healing, but before we go in there, also it's yeah, how you was coming then into the all of that healing and how it was looking, maybe also your spiritual awakening. Do you took some psychedelics or was it just without? It can be, but before we go in that, I think it's also made up from the system. Is this whole system? They make it really smart. Make it really smart. It's mass psychology, right? It's mass psychology because when you just look, for example, on the movies, you look on some games you can play, and you just grow up in this system when you are younger, and maybe you see some movies, some games, etc., from your parents or from other people, where they play a shooter, so and killing some people. And so it's, yeah, sure, it's only a shooter, it's only a game, but I personally also played this kind of games some years ago, but when I took this consciously decision that I don't make this anymore because it don't make any sense. So, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that popular culture, video games, uh, movies, TV shows, I think they absolutely have an impact.
Yeah.
Just like you and I were talking about earlier, I watched Lawrence of Arabia and it changed the course of my life. It was a movie. It's a true story
What
about
what
a guy.
what is that? What is that called, that movie? And what
Uh, Lo-
about what?
uh, Lawrence of Arabia, right? Where it was T. Lawrence, and he was a British officer in World War One, and he um he went to the desert to try to get the Arabs to unite to fight the Ottomans on the side of the British and the Allies.
Okay.
And he's a very famous figure, and there's a movie about him, and it like I said, it kind of changed my perspective on kind of what I thought I might want to do with my life. So that was a
Yeah.
movie, but it was so movies absolutely change us. Video games change us in a way that yeah, we're out there shooting and doing these things. And I mean, I've played those same games,
Yeah.
Call of Duty and whatnot. And
Yeah.
yeah, right.
With the
And
zombie modus, I loved it.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I
Really.
don't play them anymore either.
Yeah.
I played them, but there was 6 months during COVID. The first 6 months of COVID, I think that's all I did was sit down and play Call of Duty with my friends and online. But I
Yeah.
think that it does influence us. It and it doesn't. I think I think sometimes the media that we consume, the movies, the TV shows, they can do a good job of showing something that we might not have known. So I think it's
Yeah.
a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Um, but war is not this heroic thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how it often gets portrayed. And sometimes the horror gets portrayed too.
Yeah.
But I think that peop humans, what I found is, and I can just speak mostly to Americans, but I found that most Americans don't want to hear about my time over there. They don't really want to talk about it. They're very uncomfortable
Hmm.
having a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
don't know if it's because of the horrors of it or because they left us over there for 20 years and didn't really care about it at all
Yeah.
until it was on the news when we were leaving.
Yeah.
um, so I think that there's this. So movies show the heroic side of things often. Every now and then you get some movies that show the horrors of it, but then I think people push that out of their mind because it's too uncomfortable. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also a really big topic with the healing, what I made in my personal experience. So I was going also already through a lot of stuff. So yeah, sure, I was not in war, I wasn't killing people and so something like that, but I have a lot of other things or had a lot of other things to going through. Still, I think we always heal and find some things in ourselves that we can heal or learn. But you know, healing is painful, and you can't just think about I just heal now like that, just from today to tomorrow. It's a process, and I can understand also that some people don't want to talk about certain things because they have a safety mechanism in themselves,
sure.
and when you truly want to heal, so then you have to go through pain, and you just have to look in yourself in these uncomfortable things. Not unnecessary, really successful people, successful in quotes now. Yeah, think about success, what you want. Also, I think in different life pillars we can have success. It's not only finances or something like that. It's also just our health, physical health, mental health, emotional health, etc., etc. So, and when we really want to heal, we have to go through this through this pain, through this uncomfort. So, and that's also why when you consciously decide go through that uncomfortable, that you learn much more, because without that there is no healing, there is no growth, right?
Yeah, I think that confronting our all these things in our past and the things that have formed us. For some, it's negative experiences. For some, often it's trauma
Yeah.
of some sort. It could be this low grade trauma that happens that's just consistent. It can be uh, high grade trauma where it's a specific event or a couple of events that really, were severe. It could be a combination of both. Uh, it could just be bad relationships. It could be uh, a bad job you're in. There's all this stuff that we have that we have to let go of, right? I think part of healing, the biggest part of healing is, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, just acceptance. There's acceptance involved. There's letting go of all these attachments that we have. We're
Yeah.
attached to we're attached to all this stuff that we don't that does it serve us? Sometimes attachments serve us. Like we might have a loving friendship or a romantic relationship. And those attachments may serve us in some way, in a good way, in a positive way. But there's all these there's, I think most of our attachments are often negative. So how do we sever those attachments from these negative events in our life? So letting go is huge.
letting go is really huge. But without negative, no positive. So, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
you
natural
gotta see
way
the
of
dark.
life. So, and I I I personally also just feel that when you raise in your consciousness and when you heal more and more, that then you just also feel more the other side, because the other side is also there, and you just learn more how to control it, or maybe not control it, but more to just accept it and embrace it and just
Yeah.
look at it, and it's here, and you know so you get stronger with it. So it's just from my own personal experiences and just from my own feelings that I feel the dark, in quotes, more than 1 year ago or even more years ago, but also the the light, the positive, much more. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that looking at it and accepting that darkness exists is so important.
Yeah.
It's there's that acceptance there. And then we can also then say, oh, that helps me see the light better. And so now I know the light exists and I can accept that as well.
Yeah.
And I think we're often and I don't think we have to get too far into the light. I think we can look towards it more than we look towards the dark, as long as we still acknowledge the dark exists. We can look at
Yeah.
that light, but still knowing though that our path is often going to walk that gray line down the middle the best way that we can.
Mm.
Because as humans, we tend to think of black and white, yes or no, right or wrong, when actually the universe is the balance. We are the balance because we are the universe, so we are the balance. And when you know that you're the balance,
Yeah.
suddenly life becomes this much easier thing.
Yeah. Yeah. When you gain more and more wisdom, right? Attention rebels and dreamers. How did you find this podcast? Somebody probably shared it, shoot it on Instagram or something like that. The only way this grows is through recommendations. So I don't run ads, I don't do sponsorships, I don't sell anything except my shameless self-promotion, of course. No sales pitch here, just a friendly ask. If you've enjoyed this podcast, why not share the love? Leave a like for the video, rate the episode with 5 stars, and share it with your friends. Your support means the world to me. And now something else. Ready for a personalized journey with the Red Pill coaching program? Master your mind, body, and soul. And as someone who's lived with ADHD and Tourette syndrome, I've transformed my life from depression and school bullying to overcoming loss and more. I share not for pity, but to inspire you. Your past doesn't have to define your future. Don't overlook the descriptions down below. Inside, you'll find gifts and invitations, and also how you can support my work in other ways. Your next adventure starts there. Check it out. And now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the video or episode.
Yeah.
I think it's also knowledge, but wisdom is that what it changes. So, yeah. But yeah, tell me a bit about your spiritual awakening. So, was there psychedelics included or not? Or how
No,
was this coming? Just some. Also, I see spiritual first. I I believe we have to understand what is spiritual awakening, and I see it like that you can have a spiritual awakening, in quotes, over a night, or just when you go on a retreat, or when you just make something else. Or spiritual awakening can be also, in my eyes, the whole process a bit
yeah.
in the long term. So there these two sides. Yeah, but how was it with you? How do you, yeah, how do you describe this?
For me, I agree with you. I think sometimes it's a process, sometimes it can be sudden, sometimes it could probably be a mix. I think that for me it was unexpected. It was sudden. It was at late at night. My wife was asleep and I
And you took psychedelics.
no, I was I
No,
was I was
just
I was
a bit fun. We
yeah,
have to make
no,
also a bit
yeah.
fun in the podcast, right?
I'm totally not opposed to it. I mean, I'm totally
Yeah,
for, and I know a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, had a similar experience when he went to Peru and did
yeah.
ayahuasca and had a profound
Oh,
awakening.
interesting. Yeah.
But for
But
me,
he, yeah,
it was just struck me like lightning, like a moment of clarity, understanding, awakening, all those words. And I just had this idea of like, okay, the universe is this one thing, this oneness, and it was about loving kindness. And yeah, there's dark, but this light is great. Um, and I also understood my higher purpose or my dharma. I understood that it was not to help people necessarily, but to help people help themselves and know their
yeah,
wholeness inside and see that they have light, whether they can see that light or not, that it's
yeah,
there, they're whole, whether they know it or not. Um, and that I wanted to do something to make that happen. And so it was strange for me, right, though, because I wasn't
yeah,
on a spiritual journey. So like I didn't
yeah,
understand spiritual vocabulary. I didn't understand necessarily how to communicate this with people because I'd
yeah,
never studied it. So I had to learn, okay, here's what mind and ego are. And it all made sense to me once I read it because I had this moment.
yeah,
But I also learned all this stuff and it helped me continue the process of I think I read 60 books in 4 months, afterwards. And
What?
yeah,
Crazy.
I
What?
had to read. Yeah, I was just like, give me anything I can find.
Is this a Guinness
And
World Record here?
I
Do I
don't think
have,
so,
yeah,
but it was pretty good. I was reading a lot. I was reading like most of my day was spent
the-
reading.
that
Uh
this is a
yeah.
lot, man. This is a lot.
Yeah. And I took notes. I wrote everything down as I was reading and I in an app and
Yeah, that's good.
eh,
That's good.
yeah, it was great. It was just really kind of great experience.
Yeah,
And I knew that I wanted to create an online nonprofit spiritual community where people could kind of share their journeys with each other and have
yeah,
conversations. And no
yeah,
matter what your faith, I had this real big understanding as part of this that we're
yeah.
all saying the same thing, whether we're this religion, this spiritual philosophy, new age, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're all saying the same thing
Mm.
for the most part. So we should just all kind of hang out and talk about it because
Yeah,
uh we're all the same thing. So let's just do what we want individually, what works for us, but maybe we can do it together. And I
yeah.
think that was my moment. That was kind of all of it wrapped up into one.
Oh yeah, yeah, beautiful. I see also, yeah, in the video you have a lot of books behind you, and this seeing spirituality, this is big. This is big. There are so much other points, astrology, numerology. So then there is also, yeah, a lot of other things. So, and you can go so deep down this rabbit hole. Also go more into develop your intuition skills and channeling medium, and uh, I think it's so damn interesting because it's not yet in the mainstream media so much, and but I see more and more that this comes into this world, that this finds the place, and it has to be, it's supposed to be like that because we are spiritual beings that make
Yeah.
human experiences, and we have to develop in that direction. So I think there lies maybe almost all answers, or maybe also really all answers. I'm not sure, but definitely a lot of answers. And you talk now also about your community you built now, so people can look also on your website about that. So, but Keisha Spiritual, Peace on Your Journey. I like the name. And what is this exactly? Do you want to go a bit deeper into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love to talk about it. It's a place where we wanted to create a place that wasn't Instagram, it wasn't Facebook. It was something
Yeah.
smaller, kind of more protected, so that there's less background noise, not trolls or ads or anything like that. So
Yeah.
the online community we hosted on Mighty Networks, and it's a place where we have stuff that is daily meditations, daily
Mm-hmm.
spoken affirmation that you can do. We have conversation prompts where we just talk about spiritual subjects. We have weekly meetings where we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
have conversations about spirituality or religion or a book, where we're having discussions. We have journaling prompts. So it's a place where you can come and learn more about yourself, learn about where you're going, see what other people are doing and what works for them. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe this part of what they're doing works for you and maybe it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's helpful. And it's supposed to be a place where you can have meaningful, authentic relationships in a community, because I think we can still have a community in this digital age. We don't, I think if you look at the earlier years of the internet, you had message boards that were smaller and kind of more authentic,
Yeah.
and then it all kind of shifted to big stuff like Reddit and the social media that we have now. I think there's movement and a place for these smaller places where people can actually know each other and have conversations and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a kind of a labor of love. And like I said, it's a nonprofit. We do have monthly membership fee that all goes back into the community and the members to keep the lights on and grow it and all that. So
Nice. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
it's a thing that is for you, because everybody's got their own unique path. So let's kind of look
Yeah.
at it. And we do offer one-on-one spiritual guidance and coaching as well. I went after my
Yeah.
moment, I kind of went and got my certified professional coach
Yeah.
uh through the ICF and all that. So just to be more professional and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So
Mm.
yeah, we're just trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah. 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 By the way, what is ICF? You said
That's
something
the Yeah, that's the International Coach Federation. They're the main
international.
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones that regulate coaching around the world.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. And by the way, so in investing in yourself, really investing in yourself, what I realized also, that's the best thing you can do. You can, sure, you can invest in assets, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in Bitcoin, in other cryptocurrency, you can invest in whatever, you can invest in so much things, but the best investment is still in yourself. And I also realized that when you have a good coach, also a one-on-one coach, for example, so it 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 can help you a lot and just save you time, because this coach invested already so much time in this topic he researches, right? So, and that's also a really beautiful way to create a new world with new jobs, right? With also jobs with more love to help people and all of that. So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, but now I want come to the next question. What I almost always ask, not always, but the most of the time I ask the people, how would you differentiate between spirituality and religion?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it, because I think that in our current society, among the spiritual community, the spiritualists, I think sometimes religion gets a really bad rap
Yeah.
because of all the stuff it's associated with in history, which is well deserved, some of it. Don't get me wrong. But I think the difference is actually fairly small in real terms, because it's dogma. I think when it comes to the difference, it's dogma. And that dogmatic, those all the rules, all the governance, and all of the stuff that you quote unquote have to do or are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And honestly, I see sometimes you even see dogma in spiritual circles. You see spiritualists say we have to do it this way, or it has to be, So I think
Yeah.
that even spiritual people can sometimes be a little guilty of dogma. And
Yeah. Yeah.
um I think the difference is that I can practice Hinduism without going to a Hindu temple, without ever going to India.
Yeah.
I can practice Buddhism the same way. I can practice Christianity without ever stepping foot in a church. In fact, I'm not a Christian. I was raised Christian.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel more Christian today than I ever did as a Christian, if that makes any sense. Um,
What? Okay,
you
crazy.
what I mean by that is I can read the teachings, the base teachings of Jesus from the New Testament that are just what
Yeah.
he said, and be like, oh, that's kindness, that's loving kindness, that's not much different than what Gautama Buddha said, and
Yeah.
say that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So I think the difference is I think we have to understand that the difference is that when it comes to religion, it's stuff that man has decided. It's stuff that man put in place. The patriarchy said, you have to believe this. You have to do this. But if you take all those rules and red tape and dogma and all that stuff away from it,
Yeah.
you can say, okay, I can appreciate uh, that aspect of this religion or that religion, because I think there's valuable human knowledge there. There's valuable teachings if you get past all the stuff, the human stuff.
Yeah, that's a complex topic, and yeah, some people also don't like that we speak about it, but I don't give a fuck. So
Yeah.
I'm really I just I just want to create here room for everyone, for everyone's opinion, expertise, etc., etc. Because we need to be more open and kind,
Yes.
and understanding other people, or at least just listen to it and just
Yeah.
make your own picture. And this is also such an important point: make your own picture. And I think this is
Yes.
spirituality:
Absolutely.
make your
Yes.
own fucking picture, and not just blindly believe what other people say to you, or what other I call it now institutes, because I don't want to go now too deep into that stuff. So, but I just can say it like that. I think that's really good
Yeah.
way to say it here on my channel. And yeah, what I wanted to say now I forgot it again. So, but doesn't matter. So yeah, I just want to come directly to the other question. What is the stream of unconsciousness?
I think this is a big part of our whole conversation today that we've talked about, right? Is
Yeah.
you said it, I've said it too. We have to find who we are. We have
Yeah.
to love ourselves, and we have to do that outside of society and culture and what
Yeah.
they're telling us that we have to do. And so the stream of unconsciousness, it can be warm, it can be easy, but all it is floating down this stream in a kind of an unconscious, unaware, and unintentional way. And
Mm-hmm.
we're doing that because society told us we should do it. We're doing that because society is pulling us to do that. We're being told to do that by our friends, our family, our jobs. And
Yeah.
all it's the stream of unconsciousness is not that deep. It's pretty shallow. So all you got to do is just stand up. And if you stand up and you step out of the stream of unconsciousness to the bank and you just look around, well, suddenly you see things. You see yourself. You see that you see that you can't take care of anyone else if you don't take care of yourself first.
Mm,
Like you said, spirituality at its core is your own practice of
mm,
whatever works for you. You could be an atheist and be spiritual.
mm.
Just like you could be a Hindu and be spiritual or a Christian and be spiritual.
Yeah,
Anyone can be spiritual, but it's that thing within. So when you step out of that stream of unconsciousness, this pull of society, then suddenly you have this great awareness. Then you can live your life with intention.
yeah,
You can live your life with self-love. You can take care of yourself. You can do all these things. And suddenly you're seeing in more color. You're seeing more vividly. You're living.
yeah, yeah. That's also a big topic what I'm deeply interested in it. So just what is consciousness? So I would say I'm also a bit of a conscious researcher because I just
Sure.
realized that consciousness is everything.
It's
Consciousness just
exactly.
it's just everything. It's everything and nothing. It's just yeah. uh, You know, just that candles here that is a certain way of consciousness, right? Or we are our conversation right now. It's a specific frequency of consciousness, or it's a specific, consciousness. And also when we just see it individually, what kind of consciousness we have. We talked also a bit earlier about it, with the unconscious people, when people say, oh, no, why I should change me, why I should change that. So it's anyway, doesn't matter what I make. It's just a lower consciousness. And we can raise our consciousness. And I think also when we raise our consciousness, we become more aware of ourselves, who we truly are. My dog is streaming. I don't know if we hear that in the call now. Oh, he's yelling. So, but yeah, for example, that's also consciousness. My dog or other dogs, other animals, just other form of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
I believe that, yeah, I believe animals, I believe plants have consciousness, and we are, like you said, we are consciousness.
yeah,
And
plants have consciousness. They listen right now,
yeah. What I love about consciousness is that science can't solve consciousness. They haven't. They believe it exists. They know it. They kind of know it. They acknowledge that it exists.
Yeah.
Uh, but Max Planck, he was the father of quantum physics. He said, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that science can't get behind consciousness. They know it exists. They can't get behind it. They can't explain it.
Yeah.
But everything that they see, everything that they know about what they did know postulates the existence of it, and that matter itself sits on top of consciousness. And I
Yeah.
think that consciousness is this great unifying idea because it unifies philosophy, it unifies metaphysics and spirituality and science and art. It all comes together with consciousness.
Mm, yeah. We we could go so much deeper now in that. So, but yeah, I don't want to make it too long. So, but consciousness is, yeah, what is consciousness? We can't
Sure.
just, not yet, not yet. We can't grasp it fully. So, but I think, or I believe, and I'm really sure about that it's just here. It's just everywhere right now. And also just that space here, everywhere. That's also consciousness. It's not only, in quotes, empty space, because we can't see something here, but there is definitely something else. But that's the education we need as humanity. So that's the real education we need as as humans, you know, we should learn so much more about that self-love, healing, health, etc. More about the spiritual stuff in school, but why we don't learn that in school, that's the other question. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, I think we come also slowly to the end, but there's also another question I want to ask you, and this is, what is so important about living your higher purpose or dharma?
Yeah, this is probably one of the most important things to me is that if someone doesn't know what their higher purpose is, I think they should discover it. I think that each of us has our own unique higher purpose in this world. I think that it could change through our lives as well. And if
Yeah.
you don't know it, try to find it. Get an essence of what it is and explore that and figure it out and say, "Oh, this is what my higher purpose is. This is what I need to do with my life. This is what I
Mm.
want to do. This is my core of what I am." People need to get a sense of that. And then once you develop that,
Yeah.
then you have to ask yourself the question, is it aligned with my daily life? Is it
Mm.
aligned with my values and beliefs? Is it aligned with my job and my vocation, since we spend so much time doing that?
Mm.
And so I think that higher purpose or dharma is so important to living a joyful, positive existence.
I also see it even as own life pillar, I would say. So
Yeah.
I also go deeper into my coaching into that, but you know that just this one thing has so much power. You know, it just gives your life much more meaning, and I'm I'm pretty sure about it that this has to do also with our health, right? This with our holistic health, because when we don't have any purpose in life for what we live then, and so I mean, what is the meaning of our life? What is the meaning of our life when we don't find our purpose, or just at least give ourselves a purpose? And so, you know, it's such an important point. So yeah. And then I just come also directly to the next question, is how we do, how do we navigate the spiritual path in the modern age? Because I think also it's sometimes it can be really difficult to navigate ourselves in the spiritual path in this whole noisy world, social media, etc., etc. So
Yeah, I think that this is really important because I think that we are all on a spiritual journey, whether we know it or not. And I think
yeah,
that if we say we're on a spiritual journey, I think that we have to have time and space for it. And so that means that intersection between our spiritual path and living in the real world becomes so important. So our lifestyle, how we're eating, how we're sleeping, how we're are we moving intentionally? Are we, exercising? Are we meditating? All these things that are our day-to-day life.
yeah,
If we're doing that, if we're grounded and centered in those things, if our spaces are organized around us, because that matters too, suddenly the people that we surround us with, our relationships, suddenly we're having more time and space for ourselves and our spiritual journey if we're centered and grounded in our daily life. So I
mhm,
think most of us aren't going to be that monk that's living in the Himalayas in a monastery, right? Most of
yeah,
us are going to live in the real world,
yeah.
quote unquote real world, right? Even in I
What's real
metaphysically
world?
believe in
Yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah. What is the real world, right? Yeah. Um, but if we're going to live in that, if we're grounded and centered in it a little bit, it makes
Yeah.
the other side easier, and it gives us more time and space.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we just have to find the balance. And I mean, yeah, you can live in a monarchy, or you know, in a just in a temple somewhere with the monks or something like that. But you don't have to. And when you're just living in a city, or maybe you live even in the block or somewhere, where life can be also difficult and so, but even there we can find our spiritual path because it's within us, and we have to learn more and more to tune in us.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, we can be everywhere happy. It's just a decision away. It's just a decision.
Yeah, if we're happy within ourselves, if we're accepted within ourselves, suddenly it doesn't matter where we are, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Right. So now I come slowly to the end with a question I ask every people. This is, yeah, what do you think the world needs right now the most?
Yeah, I think what the world needs the most now is for us to all put down all these hard line views that we have, regardless of what they are, and thinking that I'm right, everyone else is wrong. And I think the world needs to have a conversation with each other. I think that we should talk to our neighbors. I think that if I went and talked to my neighbor and say we politically disagreed, they
Yeah,
he and I or her and I would agree in about 90% of things. We'd want ourselves to be healthy and happy, our community to be happy, our children to be happy,
yeah,
uh, and have all these things and be secure and safe. And so I think if we have 90% in common with someone that we're going to go talk to and we disagree on this 10%, how can we let that 10% uh, bring all of our culture and society down around us? So
yeah. How?
yeah,
How?
I'd say love your neighbor, love your neighbor, and
Yeah.
love the people that you disagree with the most. Love them the most.
Oh, that's an incredible point. I love that. I love that. Really. So I don't thought in that way about it. So, but sometimes it's just some things you just have to hear again and again, and just also maybe in another way. But this is a really beautiful point, because also with that people we are disagree the most, we can learn really much.
Yeah,
So, and when we start to see the love, the love in ourselves and the love in others, that this other being in front of you is also, in quotes, just a human or a spiritual being, and yeah, that we have so much more in common as we think we have, why we should let them, this, as you said, this 10% destroy everything.
that's right.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult, but yeah, we are here to learn on this earth, and it's a process. It's a process. Healing, it's a process, and Mother Earth, we are here for Mother Earth to protect it, and here for the world to heal it, in my words. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and the last question for the listeners. So where they can find you?
Yeah, our excuse me. Our main website is kishar.org. That's KISHAR.org. And they can find our spiritual community there, one-on-one spiritual guidance. They can also find all of our social media. And we have a pretty cool YouTube channel too, so it's there as well.
Nice, beautiful, beautiful. So then I link everything for the listeners down in the descriptions. And then yeah, I just thank you, John, that you was here today. It was a wonderful conversation with you. And also when we had some start challenges, me with building this in quad studio here, and also yeah with the timing. So it was becoming, yeah, I think
Yeah.
becoming, it's a good word, becoming a beautiful episode, beautiful conversation. And I appreciate, yeah, that you was here. And yeah, also for the listeners, for you, the listeners. So let me know in the comments down below what you think was the best from this conversation, and maybe yeah also your realization. and and then yeah, John, I really appreciate that you was here, and then I wish you all a wonderful day. Much love. And when do you have some final words? I give you the final words, John.
I think you have a great message for the world, and I love your show, and thank you for having me on, and I just wish you and everyone else the best.